there's no question our country over the last 10, 15 years has been built on the back of the natural resource sector, and largely a function of the success and failure of the folks here in the province of Alberta. I like to think that there will be sunnier days ahead, but our approach is we're likely in a new normal. The good old days are a thing of the past, and so there's a tremendous amount of entrepreneurs, professionals in town, and I think a lot of them, given the nature of the close ties to the oil and gas industry, are looking for an alternative, somebody who might be, in our view, a little bit more low risk in their approach when you think about diversification and risk management, which really is the essence of, I think, the whole series that they're doing across the country.
Defending reputational risk, it's about knowing what our brand is about and building a culture around that is managed throughout all of the organization. Each of us as an owner is responsible for making sure that we live and breathe that every day, and we care about our guests, and we care about our business, and we care about the organization and how it's being run, and the reputation that we have. So making sure that we have that ingrained, and also making sure that what management's expectations are actually being conformed with throughout the organization. So we keep a close eye on that, and we make sure that everybody's on the same page, and when they're not, we really make sure that the right training is in place.
We deal with operational risks on a daily basis. Examples of those would be storms, lightning, snowstorms, floods, fires. Those are the kinds of things that can wreak havoc on electricity systems. And so we have an obligation every minute of every day to be looking at what we call real-time contingency analysis. What's the next thing that could go wrong? And if it goes wrong, what will the outcome be? And if that outcome is unacceptable, then we reconfigure the transmission system in the province to make sure that outcome doesn't happen. And so, we mitigate operational risks all the time. We deal with cybersecurity risks. That's a big deal in the electricity industry. And so having, best-in-class, leading-edge cybersecurity requirements and standards for the industry is important to us.
Cyber risk and data integrity risk, an area that's exploding. It's changing constantly. It's affecting almost every client we have. It's something that is probably scaring boards today and leadership. The disruption is probably accelerating, if anything. I think it's an area that all business needs to spend more time thinking about and getting confident on how it might impact their business model and how they want to allocate resources effectively, efficiently. I think it's just the beginning of what we're going to experience into the future. I mean, this is going to be around for a long time.
None of our clients, and really no power on earth, can control the spread of a large forest fire or stop a flood from coming down the mountains. But what people can do to be prepared is look at their disaster plan, look at their emergency planning, and look at their insurance program to make sure that the risks and assets they have at their offices and out in the field are protected appropriately for the various perils that exist. And we've seen pretty much a whole slew of plagues and calamities in Alberta. So now, if you haven't looked at it yet, is the time to do so. We encourage our clients and very strongly recommend them to have off-site backups for data, have duplication of key software, key systems throughout the various locations, and for them as well to track and make sure that not only this is the case for their own business, but if they have key suppliers or key customers who they heavily rely on, to make sure that those customers and suppliers are equally well prepared, because having your major customer, major supplier go down is effectively like taking down your own business. So it's important to have these types of risk discussions with your key partners and stakeholders in order to ensure everyone's on the same page in terms of risk management.
For Calgary and Southern Alberta in particular, the plethora of risks, there's so many risks that every business faces, whether it's technological, environmental, and of course the biggest one right now is economic risk and balance sheet risks, being able to manage your capital through what is a tough time right now and having the cash resources and the working capital to manage yourself. There's certainly risks and absolutely there are opportunities as well. Governments are in the business of business as well. Some of the risks that businesses do face with respect to the government changes would be regulatory risks around environmental practices and that type of thing, as well as tax regime. Changes in the tax regime. Governments are, recently the carbon tax changes and the impacts that those do have to businesses and the business's bottom line. They need to identify and be proactive as to how to deal with that, as well as your provincial tax. Not necessarily here in Alberta, but other jurisdictions. Saskatchewan, they increased their PST rates and some of the administration around that. Here locally, there's changes in the provincial tax rates over the last few years. Now they've held it constant for the last little bit, but you know what? Those are all risks that people face because it does impact your cash flow at the end of the day. And with government changes, there's also opportunities, whether it's new tax credits for innovation, new tax credits for employment. You have to be aware of all those and capitalize on those opportunities that the governments are providing through some of those programs.